Today's Bay Area innovator is Brooke Slusser, the co-captain of the San José State University volleyball team.
Started club volleyball when I was 11, and I think that's really when I fell in love with the sport.
In her senior year, Brooke has not only excelled on the court, but has also become a passionate advocate for women's rights in sports.
They're almost gaslighting you into not thinking it's okay to talk about it, and it's not okay to voice your opinion.
She has been actively involved in challenging policies that allow biological male athletes to compete in women's sports, including participating in a landmark lawsuit against the NCAA.
Oh, your scholarship is going to get pulled. Oh, this is going against all of these rules. You can't do that. You can't speak your story. It's just all this gaslighting and manipulation to make you think that it's not okay.
Her leadership and dedication to both athletics and advocacy are making a powerful impact on the conversation surrounding fairness in sports.
If you have something to say, don't be scared to say it. If you stand up and say something, it can give courage to those who are maybe too scared and being silenced at the moment.
This is Bay Area Innovators, and I'm your host, Steve Espas. Brooke, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. Well, first I want to ask you, you're on the San José State volleyball team. How did you get involved in volleyball? What is it that made it you be so interested that you made it to the volleyball team?
Yeah, I started out really young. I did start playing soccer when I was really young. My mom always played soccer, so she threw me and my sister into that at a really young age. And I think I just got burnt out of that at one point just because it was something I did for so long. And so my parents basically said, well, if you don't want to do that, you got to do something. You can't just sit around at home all day, just young, wild, doing all of that. So my friend at the time, her mom reached out and asked if I wanted to join their low rec volleyball team. And I'm not going to lie, I did not want to at all. And my mom was like, come on, it'll be fun, just try it out, it's something new. So I tried it out when I was, I want to say, 8, and then kind of just stuck with it from there. And then I started club volleyball when I was 11, and I think that's really when I fell in love with the sport at that higher level. And after that, just kind of figured out I was pretty decent at it and stuck with it, and I've just loved it ever since.
And then you were in Alabama first?
Yes.
Was it the University of Alabama?
Yes, it was.
And then you moved to San José State?
Mm-hmm.
I see. What are some of your most enjoyable moments as a team? Maybe anything that you remember that's the most rewarding?
I don't know if there's a specific moment. I just think I genuinely enjoy the team that we have. Because our team, I feel we say it all the time, it's so special, the love we have for each other. And I think that's why we've been able to handle things the best way we can, because we genuinely do love each other, and every free second we have outside of volleyball, we're with each other and we're hanging out together doing different things. And being in the Bay Area, there's so many activities that you can go do, I'm sure you know.
Yes.
So I feel like just the bond that we have as a team is so special in itself, and I'm truly friends with everyone on our team, that I think that's what makes being here so special for me.
Well, I'm going to change gear next and talk about men's participation in women's sports. And this has been an issue that's kind of going on for a while now. In your team, there seems to be a transgender male that apparently has a lot of news have been talked about it and discussed. Tell us a bit about the background, what's going on, and how does it affect the team?
Yeah, so I transferred here my junior year, and I had no knowledge of it. They didn't tell anyone, the school, the staff, they didn't talk about it whatsoever. And so I didn't find out until a little while after, and that was obviously very hard on me because it's something that I don't agree with. And just overall, it wasn't really talked about very much. We didn't really get much information, and before it was actually out, when the first article came out, there was little bits and pieces that people just through the grapevine tried to put together, just from information they found out from other people outside of our team and our athletics.
That's how you found out? Through a news article? Or?
Yeah, so I found out through some other student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few months later is when the article came out, and that's when the school finally, not really confirmed it, but handled the matter in the way of telling us how to not really comment on it and not talk about it in a way of it's not our story to tell. And that was kind of the first time that it kind of been addressed in a way, but yet it's still not really talked about, if that makes any sense. It's more so, we have this situation, or we're going through this type of thing. It's never said, oh, you have a man on your team, this is how we're gonna handle it. They've never stated that. It's always been, okay, like this is going on, here's people you can go talk to if you have an issue with it, that type of thing.
How does it affect the team mentally and yourself mentally?
Yeah, I think it takes a major mental toll, and especially dealing with it every single day. And a lot of people don't agree with it just because of the major power difference and strength difference. It's not safe. So I think the longer that this has gone on, the more it has taken a mental toll on our team. And I think, like I said, we do have such a strong bond as a team. So having each other there, like I know there's days that I go in and I'll have to go up to one of my teammates and be like, I need your help today. Like, I'm mentally struggling today. I need you to help support me on the court and cheer me on a lot more than maybe usual. Like, I need that today. So I feel like just having each other has helped a lot, just to be able to vocalize like when you're having a rough day and when it's a little harder than other days, to be able to have that support from other people. But I think it's just leaning on each other is the only thing we really can do right now.
Now, let me try to see if I understand this. So, if it's a male on the team, you know, how does it work in the showers or in the locker room? You know, you guys would have noticed that there's an issue, right?
Yeah. So we are all in the same locker room, and before anything was out, he didn't really change in front of us. He would go to the bathroom stall, and no one else did that, which, I mean, if that's what made that person comfortable, no one was gonna make fun of them for that or question that.
Right.
But then after everything came out, it made sense. Yeah.
And how does he feel? Does he have other friends, or does he get along with other people? How does that work?
I think before everything came out, and especially before I joined the lawsuit, he was friends with a lot of the team. I was friends with him. And there was always just that little, like, we didn't talk about it, elephant in the room. And because it wasn't out yet, we didn't know all the information, and we just kind of had to assume what we'd heard from other people. So I feel like that's also why it was so hard, is because we were lied to for so long. And then after everything came out and I specifically joined the lawsuit, he's kind of distanced himself from a lot of people, which if that's what he wants to do, that's his choice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We'll talk about the lawsuit in a second, but before that, please talk to us more about the dynamics on the court and how having more power makes a difference, you know, in the game.
Yeah. So, I mean, in volleyball, as some could say, it's not a contact sport because the net is separating both teams, but you're swinging and throwing a ball practically at another person, and they're having to use their body to get that ball up. Right. So when it comes to having a man swinging a ball at someone on the other side, it's just the speed that the ball is going is just on a completely different level than when a woman would be swinging at the ball. It's just different. I mean, men and women, the power difference, everyone's known that forever. It's just different. Men are a lot stronger than women just naturally.
Yes.
So when it comes to volleyball, when you're having someone that's jumping so much higher than any woman on the court and swinging at the ball so much harder than any woman on the court, it doesn't matter how good or bad anyone wants to say that this specific player is. Because of the speed of the ball, it's just, you can't really defend yourself, really. So if it's coming for your head, hopefully you can get out of the way fast enough. But it's just the fact that he's so much stronger, and this goes for any man, and playing in women's sports, they're so much stronger than any woman will ever be, that it doesn't matter how good or bad they are, it's still a danger. And I think that's the scariest part, because you just don't know what's coming at you.
Right. Well, that's been an issue in swimming, but in volleyball it's even more direct contact. Now, does the fact that as a transgender the person would have to take some medication to slow down the hormones, does it make a difference, you think, or the strength is still there as much?
I think the strength is still 100% there. I think just being with the person every day, you can see that there's a major difference. Whether or not, I mean, who knows what the drugs are doing to your body? I can't speak on that. I've never been through it, but it's just so obvious, the difference in the weight room and in the gym when we're practicing, how much of a strength difference there is, and how much more natural it is for that person to be able to throw such a significant more amount of weight than any of the other women on the team in the weight room, or just swinging so much harder than anyone on our team or anyone that I've ever seen. So there is a big difference.
Speaking of that, in Olympics or pretty much other competitions, there's several sports that are differentiated by weight. Weightlifting, rowing, boxing for sure, taekwondo, judo. There's a lot of sports that there's a weight category.
Yeah.
And the explanation for that is that to make it fair for the competitors, you don't have, and in boxing it's probably like 60 kilos to 80 kilos. It's sometimes not even a big difference, but it's significant enough that they have the weight differences. So how would you compare that to having a male on the team? Is that comparable with the weight difference, or even more of a difference?
I think it's a very different thing, just when it comes to weight, just because we're not told you have to weigh this certain thing to be this position or that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's just more so the strength that that person has just naturally. And I mean, I think like a really hard part for me, like specifically just to give an example, is we have a conditioning test at the beginning of season, just to see, like, make sure you're going home, you're working out, staying in shape, which is very normal. And I went home, I trained for that conditioning test multiple times a week just to make sure that I could come back. And for me personally, I just wanted, honestly, to beat everyone else. Like, I just wanted to be the best I could be.
Yes.
Just being that competitive nature that I have. And knowing that the male on our team went home, did nothing over the summer, didn't work out once, just kind of did whatever they were doing. And we all knew that they weren't working out, and that was it. And so we come back, and I got to call my parents afterwards and tell them that I got second in the conditioning test. And it was like that type of thing. It was honestly really heartbreaking for me, just knowing that I put so much work into being able to do the best that I could in that conditioning test, and still was getting lapped by someone that sat on the couch all summer. And that person wasn't even breaking a sweat after the conditioning test. They made it look easy. They weren't even breathing heavy afterwards. And for me, I trained it minimum twice a week and was dying every time I was doing it. And to just see that, again, it's just so much more natural for that person than it is for any woman. Like, no woman was going to complete that conditioning test the way that he did.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Now, there's also the issue that there's several teams that have forfeited their games playing against you because of the transgender person. Tell us about that. How do you feel about that, and what's your understanding of why they did it?
Yeah, so I've said this before, and if I was in their shoes, I would do the exact same thing. I think it's one thing for us to be able to mentally push through for each other as our own team, because we've kind of talked about it. We know the man's tendencies on our team. We know what it looks like when he's going in and he's about to slam that ball really hard, and we kind of just move out of the way and protect ourselves. But it's a whole nother thing for you to walk into a gym and have no knowledge of that player's tendencies and understanding what it looks like when they're about to go in and slam the crap out of that ball. So it's harder for them to protect themselves. And So I think that's why I can support so much a team not playing us, because one, it's just not right, it's not fair, and two, it's so much more unsafe for them than it is for us, just because we understand the tendencies of this player, whereas they don't.
Yeah.
And I would never want to put someone else in that harm's way. So I support and I encourage these teams to not play against us, because it is such a safety hazard. I mean, we see what happened with Peyton McNabb, and she will forever not be the same because of getting slammed in the head by a man on the other side.
Please tell us the story about it. I think I know about it, but just to...
Yeah, Peyton McNabb was a high school volleyball player, and she was playing defense, and the other team had a male playing on their team. And he went up and hit the ball and hit her right in the head. And ever since then, she's been partially paralyzed. She'll never be able to play athletics again. And that's just another situation where, like, that could happen at any moment, playing against a male. Right. And luckily enough, that hasn't happened yet to anyone in our conference and playing against my teammate or any of us in practice. But there's been a lot of scary moments that there's been gasps, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, it's scary, like, this could happen. And it's like things like that are happening and people are still sitting back letting it happen.
So now the next obvious question is, how does the coaches in the university and the NCAA feel about this? Obviously they're not doing anything to change it, but
yeah.
What's their explanation, if there is any?
They haven't really given any explanation.
Mm-hmm.
They just keep saying that according to the rules of the NCAA, our teammate is passing those rules and passing their tests. So
there are rules and tests?
Well, so his testosterone has to be at a certain level to play based on the drugs that he's taking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're validating to say that this is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they only do that test once a year at the beginning of the year. So who's to say that this person isn't taking those drugs until they take that test and then not doing it anymore? And no one would know that their testosterone is through the roof back to a normal, like, who knows, you know what I mean? Yeah. So they're validating it through that. And still, the strength and power is so much more than any woman that I've ever seen. So, yeah.
I think it was literally yesterday that some news came out that a coach on your team, I think, spoke out about the issue of the transgender on the team, and apparently she was suspended by the university. Mm-hmm. Do you know more about that? What's your feeling, and if you have any insight of what happened?
Yeah, so we saw that the article had come out, and she decided to speak out after our game this last Thursday. And I mean, I couldn't be more proud of her. I think it was written so well. I think so many things that needed to be talked about that honestly I was still too scared to talk about, she'd spoken on. And
can you give some examples?
Just into the fact that the man on our team was in correspondence with another player on Colorado State and giving them our scout, wanting to give them an open net to swing away at me and harm me. And wow. Just those types of little things that I honestly was still scared to speak out about. And she, for so long, had wanted to talk because she just knew that it was so wrong. And the school had been telling her, you're not allowed to do that. There's going to be a lot of repercussions if you come out and speak on these things. And she finally did, and I couldn't be more proud of her. I mean, I'm grateful to her for it. She came out and spoke out on things that, like I said, I was still scared to talk about. And she also has so much more knowledge of what's going on in the background and behind closed doors. So I think the fact that she decided to stand up and do that is amazing. And even to put her job at risk for us women on the team, this is what everyone should be doing. And I think after we were told right before our game against New Mexico on Saturday that she had been suspended and won't be there that day, I know of me personally and a lot of other people on our team broke down and there was even one of my teammates came up to me right after and she was like, I don't feel safe anymore here, because Melissa was that one person that when she was in the gym and when she was with us, like we literally call her mommy. She is our mommy of the team. She was just that person that we could go to that would always have our back. And behind closed doors, again, I knew she always had my back and she had everyone else's back and would speak for us because no one else at the university or the school has been. She was that only person we felt safe to go and talk to and voice our opinions. And so you can imagine after having that one person taken away from you that you have at the school to comfort you and be there for you, taken away was really hard. So there's been a lot going on recently. Like we had practice canceled yesterday because so many people were like, I can't handle this right now.
Wow.
Like I need a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was she the main coach?
No, she was our assistant.
Assistant coach.
Yeah, which is crazy that her and our head coach have been coaching together for, I want to say, like 30 plus years now. And then ever since all of this has happened, they've just like, they don't even speak anymore. Wow. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of emotions. I'm sure you can imagine.
Are you able to tell if the head coach is getting pressure or is their own decision to act this way?
I thought at the beginning it was just pressure from the school because he still would kind of like hear us out and what we had to say, and he's kind of like, oh, I can't really do anything about it. And then as time kind of went on, it was more so, okay, now he's kind of completely just flipped a switch and is only here to support Blair and him and being on the team and making sure he's okay. So I don't know what switch happened or if he's just decided to truly voice his opinion now that he supports Blair. I'm not sure, but yeah, so now we really, it is scary because now we're not just facing the fact that there's a man on the team, we're also facing the fact that if we talk about it in a way of not supporting it, our head coach who decides who plays, who doesn't, and kind of controls volleyball in your life, it can be scary because he controls if you get to play or not. So, yeah.
How many more games are left this season?
Well, there should be a lot more, but we only have, I want to say, 5 that we get to play. And then there's, like we kind of talked about, like after season with conference play and NCAA play, if we make it that far. Yeah.
How did you guys do last year?
Last year we didn't do well at all. We got second to last in conference. But again, the man on our team was injured all last year. So everyone's been saying like, oh, well, they weren't good the past 2 years either. Why does it matter now? And I'm like, the man wasn't playing the past 2 years. And then we were last in conference, and we still have the same people playing from last year as we do this year, but the man's playing now. And all of a sudden we're second in conference. And I feel like that, there's a difference there, you know? Now,
tell us more what happens when you or others raise this issue, with your coaches or with the school management.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically just told that if we have an issue with it, there's a therapist or someone we can go talk to about it, and that we're, like, our opinion isn't being heard if we're not agreeing with it. So
they're actually saying that?
They're not flat out saying it. They're saying, oh, if you have an issue with it, here's a therapist you can go talk to. And here's someone that can help comfort you through this situation. And not being like, okay, like, maybe we should look at the fact that there's 18 women on this team that don't feel comfortable with this, but we're still going to comfort the one man on the team and make sure the man is comfortable through all of this because we want to support him and not the 18 other people on this team that are voicing that they're not okay with this and they still are supporting it.
Wow, that's a good point. Well, I would have to think that the person himself, the male, doesn't feel that great either, doesn't feel that comfortable because he's probably by himself and, he probably feels that, I would think it doesn't feel very good that all these things happen. But in many ways, I grew up in a communist country where the will of the people is not being listened to. It doesn't matter. It's what some dictator or management decides, right? And unfortunately, I see a lot of similarities, how you have all these people having one position, the team, and I'm sure others who don't dare to talk about.
Yeah.
But there's someone that says, no, it has to be this way, and then it goes that direction. Tell us about the lawsuit. So you decided to join an existing lawsuit against the NCAA. What's that about?
Yeah,
as much as you can talk about it, I guess.
So I did decide to join the lawsuit beginning of our season. And there were already multiple girls that have gone through, like, I'm sure you know Riley Gaines, who had to swim against Leah Thomas. And the Icons Agency is heading all of this and helping fund it, and has been a really big voice for women in sports throughout all of this. And we're basically fighting for the fact that men should not be protected under Title IX rules for women in collegiate sports. Title IX was made to protect women. And the fact that they're using this to also protect males that are trying to hide in women's sports is not okay. And so we're hoping that at the end of the day, there could be change coming from this, and being able to use our stories and the terrible things we had to go through to make a change for the future of women's sports is the end goal. So hopefully there will be a good change coming from all of this.
Do you know any timeline of what the status is with the lawsuit?
As of now, it's in the very beginning stages. And I haven't gotten much information recently on where it's at. I just know that I've officially, as of about 2 weeks ago, been told that I am officially on the lawsuit. It was pending for a while just because they have to take my case to the judge and what I had to say to see if it was truly beneficial and helpful for the case, since I did join late. But I did officially find out that I am in it. And so when there is more information, hopefully I can let everyone know, but as of now, it's just in the beginning of stages.
Riley Gaines has been very outspoken and involved with protecting women's sports, and she's a swimmer, of course. Do you know each other? Do you share ideas? Tell us about your relationship with her.
Yeah, so sadly, I haven't gotten to meet her in person. Hopefully, I will be able to one day. But from the beginning of me joining the lawsuit, I was able to talk with her a little bit on Zoom and with Icons and kind of talking through all of that kind of stuff. But then she couldn't be more supportive through all of this. She'll reach out and check in and make sure I'm doing okay, and has opened that line. She's like, if you need anything, like, please just let me know. So she has been really supportive through this whole situation, and it's crazy. I've idolized her through the things that she's been able to accomplish through all of, like, her situation with Leah Thomas. So being able to have that support has been amazing, just from someone that's been through it and can understand what you're going through. So just having that support system has been really helpful. So hopefully I'll be able to face-to-face meet her soon. But you can imagine she's pretty busy. But yeah.
Well, Brooke, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate everything you stand up for and for women's rights in sports. What are you going to be doing, you think, after you graduate? You have another month of playing for San José State. You're a senior. What are you going to be doing afterwards, you think?
Yeah, so like we've kind of talked about, I'm really interested in nutrition. So I'm really wanting to be a one-on-one nutrition coach and be able to help others, because I did struggle so much with nutrition growing up as an athlete. And so I want to be able to help other athletes, and just not just athletes, but over time anyone who is struggling with being able to understand how to fuel themselves in sports or just day to day. And because it's something I'm so passionate about, it's something I want to pursue in the business world, and maybe hopefully start my own business.
Why do you think you struggled with nutrition before? Was it that you were eating junk food, or what was the reason?
So I did struggle at one point in high school with anorexia, and just struggling to, you see all these other girls that aren't in athletics as a young girl, and they're so small, and I just feel like I struggled a lot seeing that, and then that contradicting me having to lift heavy and be a little bigger than the normal woman who's not in athletics. And I think that's why I struggled a lot growing up with, I don't want to have to eat this much because I want to look like this girl and be skinny like this girl. But the reality was, being an athlete, you need to be fueling yourself a certain way to be able to get to that next level and perform the best you can. You can't be living the same lifestyle a normal 16-year-old girl is to be able to perform the way you want to. And so I think I struggled a lot when I was younger, being able to find that out and be healthy for myself and my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So I think because it's not talked about so much, that there need to be people out there that can inform young girls specifically about how to fuel yourselves as an athlete, because your lifestyle is different than the normal young 16, 18-year-old.
Right. What about volleyball? Are you going to be playing volleyball after this year?
Yeah, so I've thought about professional options.
Mm-hmm.
As of now, I'm not sure what that has in store for me, but knowing that about half of my senior season has been taken on a whole roller coaster and a completely different direction than I ever thought it would be. It is in my head to maybe go in the professional direction, but as of now, I'm not sure. It is up in the air, but we'll see. I'm excited, yeah.
Any concluding thoughts to the young people out there who pursue sports, or anyone?
Yeah, I mean, just for me, the whole reason I decided to join the lawsuit was so this never had to happen to anyone else ever again. And I just think surrounding this whole situation of men and women's sports, and you can kind of see everywhere that the same things are being said, like they're almost gaslighting you into not thinking it's okay to talk about it, and it's not okay to voice your opinion and stand up and say no, that they're going to do all these things to you to, oh, your scholarship is going to get pulled, oh, this is going against all of these rules, you can't do that, you can't speak your story. And it's just all this gaslighting and manipulation to make you think that it's not okay, and they're just scaring you into silence, and when it's all not true. And I think I'm just the perfect person to look at, like, they said all these things to us, and I've come out and I've spoken my story to try and make an awareness for the situation and make a change, and they've done nothing and haven't been able to do anything to me. I still have my scholarship, I'm still playing, I'm still a captain on my team. So I would just say, at the end of the day, if you have something to say, don't be scared to say it, because it is, a lot of people are scared to say it. So if you stand up and say something, it can give courage to those who are maybe too scared and being silenced at the moment. So if you have something to say, stand up and say something, because it could help so many others in the future.
Brooke, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Thank you for watching another episode of the Bay Area Innovators. As always, if you think someone should be on our program, please send us an email at sfbay@epochtimes.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you, and see you next week.